Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric and another day of Countdown to Christmas 2021. Today's topic is pillows, or more specifically, pillow coverings. And whether we're making a simple pillowcase for the pillow that we sleep with at night, or we're trying to cover pillows that go on couches or in armchairs, pillow coverings are a wonderful way of using fun fabrics, fun designs that we have. It's a fun way, it's a small project, smaller than a wall hanging, smaller than a quilt. It's a small project that we can make in a shorter amount of time that can make the home feel more inviting, more decorated, and certainly if it is a pillow covering for a pillow on our bed, it is something that can bring us comfort. So in my house, like with the quilts that I make, I like to make as much as possible pillowcases for the beds. I have to admit that oftentimes I will use purchase pillowcases when I can find them for a good price, simply because fabric is not exactly inexpensive, and so anytime you can save some money, that's great. But my husband and I have moved towards having flannel pillowcases year-round. We just find them more comfortable and yeah, just enjoy them. So on my bed, I have flannel pillow covers, and I'm pretty sure on my kids' beds they have store-bought pillow covers. But around the house, we have pillows that are decorated for Christmas, decorated at other times of the year. Some of them correspond with some of the wall hangings that I've made. Others are just me using test sews with the embroidery machine. Because sometimes you want to test out an embroidery design without it being on your final fabric. So when I do a test sew, it has a tendency, especially if it has imperfections in it, it ends up on a pillow. So while I won't show you all of the pillows individually, I will post pictures in the continuing picture stream. I'll post pictures of the different pillows that I currently have decorating the house for Christmas. But I wanted to talk about when I first started making covered pillows, decorated pillowcases. My great-grandmother, and I think I mentioned this in an earlier video, as she became older and her eyes started to fail her a little more, one of the things that she could still do is hand quilt on decorative pillow covers. And so I remember being so in awe of seeing them on my great aunt's bed, all of these beautiful square pillows that were different quilt blocks, hand quilted by my great grandmother. And so that had always inspired me. But what started me off on the process was actually 26 years ago. My mother-in-law asked me if I could make her placemats. And placemats will be another video. But she asked me if I would make her placemats. And again, my 26 years ago younger self, oh sure, no problem. But I didn't have the money to be able to buy the materials, so she bought me the materials. So we went to the store and we looked for Christmas panels. And for people in the quilting world, you know that at different times you can find printed fabric that is a design, a scene, a Christmas scene. And so we ended up finding some that would work really well for placemats. But she wanted rectangular placemats, not square ones. And yet, when we saw this print, and I apologize, I know the camera is making this big cherry red, but this is actually much more of a deep burgundy and hunter green combo. And there will be a picture with better color, I am sure. But we saw this panel, and we both loved it. It just, I couldn't go home without it. So we bought this, and I managed to do that year one of these. But what I wanted to really mention about this is I was learning how to, I knew how to hand quilt, but my stitches weren't that good yet. So, you know, and they got better than they are today, but I wanted to practice my hand quilting. Working on a panel like this is the perfect way of learning how to hand quilt, because there's no seams. You're just following the lines of the Santa Claus in this case, and you're tracing around them with the needle thread, and it is a fabulous way of practicing, because when you have seams that you have to go over, it's a lot harder to get that needle in and out and do the rocking motion. So this panel helped teach me a lot about hand quilting, and it comes out at Christmas, and I absolutely love it. It just has a muslin back on it. When I do hand quilted pillow top, I will have I will create a sandwich of the top fabric, the batting, and then I'll just take something like muslin and I'll put it on the back as the back layer. I'll hand quilt that, and then I'll construct the open flat pillow covering so that the inside is, so that it's quilted well and its inside is quilted well. When I made this, I used polyester batting. The polyester batting I used for the placemats at that time was terrible. I didn't pre-shrink my fabrics, and so the poor placemats, when they were washed, poofed up like crazy in such a way that kind of negated their purpose a little bit. I've since learned I pre-wash everything because reds and greens bleed. It doesn't matter how quality the fabric is. I just won't take the risk anymore. So I pre-wash. But I did this panel. I loved the way this turned out. I love the whole feel of it. And again, I'm sure that the picture will show it is the darker red, it is the darker greens. But either way, it really inspired a lot of my Christmas decorations in the years since. At the same time I made this pillow, I also made this pillow. And the quilt block design is, it can go by a number of names. The name that I found when I had it was the Carpenter's Wheel, rather than the Carpenter's Star, etc. The Carpenter's Wheel, and it's mainly because it only has the spokes out in the wheel portion, as opposed to a star element that if you bring in, you'll see I quilted a star element, but it's the Carpenter's Wheel or a Carpenter's Star is how you would find this pattern. So these pillows are about 26 years old, and the reason I can remember the Christmas is that was the Christmas I was also very pregnant with my son. So the two of those go back at least 26 years. So I have those pillows. Well, this year, thinking about the countdown to Christmas and the different things I wanted to show you, I decided I needed to reproduce it. And so I went ahead and reproduced it. The only difference is these blocks are slightly larger than those. So I reproduced this. I used better quality batting, better quality fabrics. Well, I can't say the fabrics are necessarily better quality. They're probably about the same quality, honestly, as the stuff that was the panel. People who use the panels know that a lot of times the panels weren't always printed on the better quality fabric. It's just the way it was, at least, 20 to 30 years ago when you saw a lot of it coming out. But I used, all of this came out of my stash. This fabric and this fabric, and I'm pretty sure even this fabric is actually stuff that somebody gave me when they were cleaning out their stash of extras. So I made this one in memory of it. I'm very, very pleased with it. I did quilting in the ditch. I did not, in this case, I'll zoom in, I did not replicate the center star in my quilting. I just quilted in the ditch, leaving it a little bit different look. So I have a number of other pillows that I'll be showing, but I wanted to show this one as well, up close. Excuse me. I have a cat over here, so I may be joined momentarily. But the reason I wanted to show you this one is that drop cloth, painter's drop cloth canvas that I keep talking about in so many of these videos. This is more of it. Machine embroidery design. Oh, it was a pain. Let's just say I love the design. I don't really love how it, I don't love the process of stitching it out. It was a lot of stitches. It was very dense. It's very stiff. It was a bit of a pain, but at the end of the day, oh, yep, there's a cattail right there. We might be joined. Yes, there's a nose. But I love the way this turned out. My daughter is so in love with this one because the quilting on this canvas with the cotton batting behind it. Here, hold on a second. This cat is looking for trouble. Let me get him. Ah, there we go. Settle down right there. Okay. Here. I will. There. There's the cat. All right. He's now had his cameo. We can go back. Okay. So my daughter and I really love the way this canvas puffed up. It's such a loose weave in comparison to what I normally quilt with that just the quilting process alone was causing it to puff, to gather, to pucker. And I loved the way that it was working. But I kept thinking it needed a little extra. And so I went and I found out of my stash these red beads. It just ended up making it have such a... It makes me really kind of feel old, almost Renaissance type jousting event, that kind of quilted, the kind of garments that knights would wear under their armor. I believe some in some of the samurai tradition also had a quilted garment that they used as part of their armament. And it made me think of that, only all jeweled and decorated. So I wanted to share that with you as well. It's one of my favorite projects that I have put together this year. And yes, all of the beads are hand sewn on, because sometimes you just have to be crazy and sew on beads. So I have that pillow. And other than that, I have a ton of other pillows. I have one more I think I'll show you in real time as opposed to the slideshow. I'm sorry. I seem to be very congested right now. This is a little Sunbonnet Sue. And again, it looks much more Christmassy, and the picture will show it. But this is showing you how an applique can really work. Yes, I've done this in machine embroidery applique as opposed to hand applique. I just have to, at this point of the game, I have to do as much by machine as possible and save my hands for the things that I really love doing most. And I much prefer machine applique to hand applique these days. But this is just a really simple little pillow. It matches a wall hanging that has these Sunbonnet Sues. And the reason why it is Christmassy isn't because it was meant to be Christmassy. It was because that was the fabrics my daughter actually chose when she was trying these out. So she actually tried, this was her trying to figure out how to use doing a little bit more with the machine embroidery herself. And so the Christmas plaids are what she chose. And, come in. So he's fishing. But, Christmas in certain parts of the world would certainly be fishing weather, wouldn't it? So it still works. And so I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the different pillows that I've made, the collection of pillows that I have that I have made, some this year, some in the years past. I hope it inspires you to make some little pillows. I think this is one of those that it's a great way to add a little bit more comfort to a home, a little more decoration to a home. But all of the techniques, except for the beading, can be transferred onto a simple pillowcase for making younger loved ones who just want something snuggly and fun. Beautifying our home does not have to be only for special occasions. Giving a gift of love does not have to be just for special occasions. When we give a fabric gift, a fiber gift, we are giving a hug. We are giving a piece of our heart. It's a snuggle item as much as anything. And I know, I'll mention this here really quickly, I know that a lot of people get frustrated because they don't feel like the gifts are well appreciated by the ones who receive it. And I know that that can be heartbreaking for someone if they feel like their handmade gift is undervalued. But here's the rule of thumb I go by. I make the gift and I give it away. And I don't worry about where it ends up. I don't worry about if it is the most treasured gift in the world or if it gets shoved to the side. Because it's me making it for them that is the gift to myself. I think we lose sight sometimes when we're doing all this crafting. We lose sight of where we should be focusing our joy, our sense of peace. That is in us doing it. And the receiving of it, the person may be brought to tears. Recently, I helped make some gifts for a young woman who, was choked up and brought to tears when she received them. Young people do oftentimes really love these handcrafted gifts. But my joy was from the making it with love, not from whether or not the person receiving it responded with the same joy and love I put into it. When we focus on that, when we focus on what it gives to us to give to others, and not so much on what they give back to us, then we have joy and peace in our crafting. So that is something I really do recommend you consider as you go through your crafting time. It is what we are giving that should be giving us joy, not in what we receive from the person who gets the item. Because if we do that, then it doesn't matter if our item gets lost in the mail. It doesn't matter if our item gets dragged through the mud, put on a shelf and never used, or passed on to someone else. We are sharing our love by making it, not expecting anything in return, with the hope and prayer that somewhere, someone will eventually love this item, whether it is the person we made it for, or the person they passed it on to, or the person who ended up with the lost package. We hope that it will end up onto someone else. And the truth is, if we make it well enough, who knows, it might be passed on from person to person to somebody much later than when we're here on this earth. And it doesn't have to be an heirloom for it to happen like that. It can simply be something made with love, something made with care, that as long as it doesn't end up in a trash bin, it's going to be used until it is worn out. That's the goal. When we go back to one of the pillows that inspired it all. One of the reasons I wanted to remake this pillow this year is because it's seen some use. Because while it is red and green, it's not Christmas. And instead of being packed away every year, it's been sitting out in that green chair I mentioned in earlier videos with that red and green quilt that I showed in the first Christmas video. It's been used and it's getting threadbare and it's not going to live a whole lot longer unless it has some friends to help take up the slack. It's being used. It's being cuddled with. It's getting stains on it. It's wearing thin. And that makes me happy. I hope you can have joy and unwind a little bit with your fiber and fabric this holiday season. And I hope you can learn to hold on to that joy that comes from the making and giving and be a little less worried about how it's received. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful day.